So the final section in this chapter is about something called the 5-number summary, and then the 5-number summary is used to create a kind of graph known as a box plot. So we're going to talk about how you find the 5-number summary of a set of data. Now we've actually already touched on all of these values before, and we've covered pretty much the entire process for finding these values using the graphing calculator. All the 5-number summary consists of, it's the minimum, quartile 1, the median, quartile 3, and the maximum. Those 5 values are known as the 5-number summary. Here we have a set of data. I've already taken the time to type that in to the calculator here. So if you go to Stat, go over to Calc and pick 1-var stats. Again, make sure your frequency list is blank when you're only doing one list for your variables. And you go ahead and hit Calculate. And so if you arrow down these values at the bottom here, that's the 5-number summary in all its glory. So the minimum is 22, that's the min. So that's the smallest value. Let's see, 39 and 43. So 39 is the first quartile, the median is 43. 50 is Q3. Keep minimizing everything. 50 is Q3, and then 60 is the max. So there you go. That is the 5-number summary. What you do with the 5-number summary is you make what's called a box plot. The way the box plot is drawn, one edge of the box is drawn at Q1. The upper edge of the box is drawn at Q3, and then you connect a rectangle to make a box from Q1 to Q3. That, by the way, is the IQR. It's the middle 50% of the data. At some point in the middle of the box, it doesn't have to be right down the middle. It could be tilted to either one side or the other. But somewhere down the middle of the box is where you put the median. So that's marking a line in the middle of the box. You then draw what's called a whisker. You put a value at the smallest value, the minimum value, and connect it with the line going from the Q1 edge of the box down to the smallest. You do likewise with the maximum. You put a value right there and connect a whisker, as it's sometimes called, going up to the highest value. We also talked about outliers, and so after you find outliers, any values that are either super high or super low, you're going to draw as separate, distinct points off by themselves away from the majority of the data. And then what the box plot shows you, 25% of the data exists on that whisker, 25% is in the lower end of the box, 25% is in the higher end of the box, and then the upper tail, the upper whisker, is the top 25% of the data. And the IQR is in fact going to give you the middle 50% from the 25th to the 75th percentile. So here we have a set of data. We have our 5-number summary written down here for convenience, so we don't have to go back and forth. So our goal is to draw a box plot. Now, the first thing I'm going to do to make this box plot is I am going to attempt to draw a line. Let's try that again. Here, whoop, let's try to go a little straighter than that. All right, good enough. So we will, the lowest value is 22. So what we're going to do is let's just start at an even 20. And maybe we'll count by fives here. 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. So there's kind of a nice number line approximating where things are. So the Q1 is 39, so 39 is going to be like right about there. Oh dear, let's try that again. My mouse went crazy. All right, Q1, there you go. Q3 is at 50, so Q3 is going to be like all the way up there. So those are the edges of your box. So then we'll go ahead and connect our box right here. There we go. The median is 43, so 43 is probably going to be somewhere in there, a little bit below 45. That's M. The minimum is 22, which is going to be roughly right about there. The maximum is 60, which is up there. And something that we should do first before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's find the IQR and check and see whether or not there are outliers. If I remember correctly, there are not any outliers, but it's good to check. 50 minus 39, that is going to be 11. And then you have to do 1.5 times the IQR. So let's find out what 1.5 times 11 is. That is 16.5. So for the lower fence, you do Q1 39, subtract 16.5. That'll give you your lower fence. 39 minus 16.5. That is 22.5. And then meanwhile, if we do the upper quartile, Q3, 50, and add 16.5 to that, that will give you 66.5. And it's actually good that I checked this, because what you may notice is that 22 is in fact lower than the boundary for the lower fence. So as a consequence of that, this point all the way down here at 22, that is an outlier. 32, the next lowest number, that is going to be the edge of our box, or of our whisker right here. So what we're going to have is a whisker connecting down to 32. That's our new minimum. And then we have another whisker going all the way up to 60, which is our maximum. It's under 66.5, so that's still a perfectly legit value. And then all the way down here by itself, way far away from the rest of the data, that is where 22 lives. So because it is beyond, it's lower than the lower fence, that is an outlier. Okay, here's another set of data. I'm going to pause just for a moment to put all this stuff into the calculator, and then we'll go over how to do the 5-number summary and make a box and whisker plot in just a moment. All right, so I've entered the data into the graphing calculator here. Standard operating procedure, push stat, go over to calc and ask for the one variable statistics, and make sure that the list that it's in matches the list you're asking for, list 1. All right. Arrow down to get the 5-number summary. The min is 3.3. So let's jot this down here. So the min is 3.3. Let's see. Q1 is 5.3. What's next? The median is 6.15. Q3 is 7.5. And then the maximum is 14.5. All right, so that's our 5-number summary. And let's see, 3.3, 5.3, that checks out. 6.15, 7.5, 14.5. Okay, so those all jive. So now we're going to do a box plot. And we also want to make sure we label any outliers. So let's find the IQR first. So take Q3, 7.5, subtract Q1, which is 5.3. That will give me the IQR, 7.5 minus 5.3. That is 2.2. You then need to do 1.5 times 2.2 and find out what that is. So multiply that by 1.5. That'll give you 3.3. That's the IQR. Then you're going to take the lower quartile, 5.3, and subtract the number you just found. That'll be the lower fence. And then take the higher quartile, 7.5, and add 3.3. That will give you the upper fence. 5.3 minus 3.3 is just 2. Notice that the lowest is 3.3, so no values are going to be outliers on the low end. If you add these up, that's going to be, what is that, 10 and 0.8, so 10.8. So then if we look, we will have 2 values above 10.8 for our outliers here. And so much like we did last time, let's draw a number line just for scale here. Our lowest value is 3. Our highest one is 14.5. So maybe what we'll do is we'll start at 3 and we'll count by 2s. So 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. All right, so let's see. Q1 is 5.3, so 5.3 is going to be somewhere roughly right about there. Q3 is 7.5, so 7.5 is maybe going to be right in here. The median is 6.15, so that's maybe going to be right about there. You make your box connecting those. The lowest value is 3.3, so that's going to be maybe right about there. You draw the whisker to connect that. The highest value that's not an outlier is 10.7, so that's maybe right about there. There's the other whisker there. So this is going to be 10.7. And then this one is 3.3. It's the lowest non-outlier. And then here at 11, that is one outlier. And then 14.5 is going to be somewhere in that neck of the woods. Those are the two outliers in our data set as shown on the box plot. So there you have it. That is how to graph the 5-number summary for a set of data. And that is the end of chapter 3.